Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about how to bring a level of clarity and control to your fitness, your pursuit of weight management that you haven't had in the past. We've talked a lot about a lot of really clear strategies of how to eat for weight loss, what to eat for weight loss success, how to make sure that your medications and your hormones aren't causing you problems that could cause difficulty with weight management. But today I want to talk to you about clarity and control that you can achieve from tracking your diet, tracking your intake. I know that sounds like a little bit of a cumbersome thing to do, and I'll be clear with you, tracking your diet, tracking what you eat, tracking what you put in your mouth is a pain in the butt. But it's useful because without knowing what you're eating, you really can't tell your doctor what you're eating. You really don't even, we're really good at self-deception. Everyone thinks that we eat a good diet or we take it, we eat a lot of, we watch our macros, we take in a lot of protein or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's just very easy to deceive ourselves in terms of what we're actually eating. And when it comes to weight management, it's nearly 100% about what you're eating, about how you're eating, right? So today we'll talk about how to track that. My favorite tracking softwares or ways to track this are with an app called MyFitnessPal, right? There's another one called Cronometer, and I'll have links for those in the description. I don't make anything off these links. I don't have affiliate links. These are just things that I know how to use, particularly MyFitnessPal. It's a free app. There is a paid version, and that paid version does have some benefits, and we'll talk about that. I'm gonna do a follow-up video to this one about how to set up MyFitnessPal and also how to use it. So I wanna bring a lot of clarity to how to do that and make it as easy as possible for you. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I don't want you to feel like I need you to track your calories or your macros forever. We don't. We just need to set a little goal that we can manage, and then another little goal, and then another little goal, right? So things that you're gonna need to track your progress while we're doing this, not just some software. And I should say that people have managed to track their diet by just having a written dietary log or even taking pictures of their food. Like, people do that sort of thing. But when you're really trying to drill down how you're eating, and that, to me, that mostly means how many calories am I eating every day, and how many grams of protein am I eating every day? Like, everything else is important, but like, those are the two pieces of information we need to have clarity on. We need to know how many calories you're getting, how many grams of protein, and we need an objective way to do that. So the only way you can do it is by having some way to log that, and the most effective way is gonna be with a piece of software. There's lots of them out there, but I'm just gonna suggest MyFitnessPal. Cronometer does, at least at the time of this recording, have a free barcode scanner that MyFitnessPal has on the paid app. And like, maybe while you're just getting started with this, you just wanna pay the monthly fee, whatever it is. I find that when you pay for something, it becomes worth more to you. It's not like an ungodly amount of money either. So again, MyFitnessPal or Cronometer. I'm gonna talk more about MyFitnessPal. And a food scale. Like, a food scale is just a little scale. You can get one off Amazon for 15 bucks. They're pretty cheap. They work really well. And I'm gonna do a follow-up video on how to weigh food on a food scale. It's not hard to do, and it just takes a little bit of getting used to. But let me give you a concrete example. You won't know the difference between 6 ounces and 10 ounces of chicken by looking at it and guessing. But it is important because that chicken's got a lot of protein in it. It's got some calories in it, it's a significant amount of calories in it. And we need to know, hey, what are we eating today? How are we eating? And so we'll walk through just making it as easy as possible, again, to set up and use. But a food scale is important. I think it's also important to have a bathroom scale. Most of you may already have that. Maybe it's great, maybe it's depressing, maybe it's an obsessive thing for you. I'm not really looking to create obsessive environments for people. That's certainly not my purpose in making these suggestions. You may find that if you have kind of obsessions with food or obsessions with some sort of eating disorder type things or more obsessive tendencies that way, maybe this isn't for you, and that's okay. But to most people, in order to get an idea of what you're eating, tracking it on a daily basis is important. I think weighing in regularly is important. Do you need to do that every day? Well, no, but people tend to, and that's okay. You can do that. I think if you find yourself really obsessively doing that, you might want to back off and say, hey, I weigh in once a week or twice a week or whatever it is. And don't get frustrated, especially after your cheat meal or cheat day, because remember, if you have a number of carbohydrates during those cheat meals, which a lot of people will, you're gonna retain some fluid. That's okay. You're gonna have your ups and downs during the course of the week, but we're just trying to get a general trend here. Additionally, a measuring tape can be very helpful. A measuring tape can be had on Amazon very cheaply. Again, I'll find one, put a link for you on the description of the video as well. The point is, we're measuring on our arms or on our navel, around thighs. There's several different points where we can measure. And I can do a follow-up video on it specifically how to measure. But when you find, like, if you're actually lifting weights, like I've suggested a number of times in these videos, Resistance training is very important, especially over the long haul, especially when wanting to have a healthy metabolism for the next, not just 6 months or a year, but for the next 10 years, 20 years, and so on. Getting as much skeletal muscle is important in order to drive that metabolism. And as you gain muscle, as you eat more protein and you're doing resistance training, whether that's bands or lifting or body weights, like you may not lose weight initially, but you should lose inches. And so I think having just a tracking method where you're just doing some measurements, maybe once a week even, is helpful. You may find the inches coming off, your clothing's fitting better, but that scale's not moving. And I always tell people, don't worry about that. I think it's by design that we're getting more muscle mass, and that muscle just weighs more than fat. And I think it's pretty common knowledge, but not to be concerned about that. I find after doing this methodology for some time, after increasing your protein, really changing those dietary habits and practicing resistance training, 6-12 months later, the weight does starts falling off, but you will notice inches first. So again, this is not a quick fix. This is a way to have a healthy metabolism for the rest of your life, right? So I do want to mention that the main purpose of tracking is really that of accountability. So we found in studies that people who share their tracking, their dietary logs with other people, have about 50% more weight loss than people who don't. I find that having accountability with someone else is powerful, and really the idea that writing things down, just like if you were journaling, it's kind of like you're having your own counseling session. When you put your thoughts on paper, you're kind of reflecting back to yourself. When you track your intake, you're kind of having accountability with yourself, really. You write those things down, you can think, it's interesting that I ate this, and here's really how much protein I had. Here's how many calories it was. Maybe it didn't feel like that much, or maybe it felt like more. But you can really come in tune with the reality of what you're eating and what you're taking into your body and how you're feeling yourself by just having that process of having accountability and documenting it in a software like MyFitnessPal. Other kind of more random or optional for fun items might be in terms of tracking your progress might be one, using a body composition scale. You might find there's a few different kinds of body composition scales. You might see them at like Supplement Superstore or at the gym, or even on Amazon, where there's a couple little electrodes where you put your feet and it tells you what your body fat percentage is and how much muscle and how much fat in these things. And I find that most of those are like mediocre in terms of accuracy. They are at least in like a standard by which you can see a trend. So I think trending these things is good. So that you might consider something like that. I think they're not a deal breaker by any means. Skin fold calipers give me PTSD from gym class because I grew up in the 80s and they did. I don't know if they still do that anymore. I don't know. But you can do skin fold calipers, and I can put up a video on how to use those. But I think they're really just doing measurements is probably your better bet. Then lastly, doing a DEXA scan. So you can actually have a DEXA scan ordered. We take a physician or a practitioner ordering that, or going to a cash clinic to do it. But a DEXA scan, same thing they do bone density scans on the same machine, actually is probably the most accurate way of measuring body fat percentages and things like that. And I wouldn't do that more than once a year, once every 6 months. I'm not sure. I don't do that personally, but it is the most accurate way of measuring body fat percentage, especially at the beginning of an effort, and maybe 6 months or a year into an effort. I can see where that would be very useful. Just to recap then, the purpose of tracking is not to create an extra thing for you to do during the course of the day. I know that you've got plenty to do already, but just to create clarity and control over your fitness journey, right? So it's going to create the clarity of knowing how many calories you ate, how much protein you ate every single day. And it's going to allow me as a physician or your practitioner or physician to look at your intake and say, okay, here's how we can tweak things for you. Here's how we can make some helpful suggestions to satisfy your needs and help you reach your goals. Otherwise, I'm just guessing, and so is anybody else if they're being honest. So I think that the accountability it really turns efforts into reality. It does help immensely. So just one day at a time, though, thinking about it like this isn't a forever thing. This is today and maybe this week, and that wasn't so bad, and maybe we go a little longer. But I do find that people, after they've tracked their diet for, let's say, a few weeks at least, they get an idea of kind of how they're eating and develop dietary patterns that way, and they can really really bolster their results and don't have to do it forever. So hopefully that's helpful. That's kind of what I think about dietary tracking and how you ought to do it. I will give a very concrete example in another video. I'll show some screenshots and walk you through a video of how to set up MyFitnessPal, how you would enter in data and how to look at that so that you can know how much protein you're eating and how many calories and have a lot of accuracy around that. So hopefully it's helpful. If it's not, please leave me a comment and tell me it's not helpful so I can change. Thank you.